Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story, a story about an unusual arrangement that would change two lives forever. Meet Emma, a young waitress who's struggling to make ends meet. Her life is far from glamorous. She spends her days serving tables at a small diner, working long shifts just to pay the bills. Her only escape is her love for art, dreaming of one day opening her own studio. Little did she know, her life would take a dramatic turn one evening when she found herself seated at the wrong table. It was a blind date, but not with the person she thought. She had walked into the wrong spot, nervously scanning the room. And there, at the back of the restaurant, she saw a man sitting alone, engrossed in his phone. He looked up as she approached. "Hi, you must be Kevin," Emma said, flashing a nervous smile. The man blinked, startled, his confusion lasting a moment. Hi Emma," he said, his voice soft but unsure. Emma sat down, thinking she had finally found her date, but in the back of her mind, something felt off. "I know this is awkward. Blind dates are weird, right?" she said, trying to fill the silence with a joke. "Jenny told me you might be a little shy, so I can talk enough for both of us." The man hesitated but smiled faintly. "Right, blind dates are something else." They both chuckled nervously, and Emma felt the tension in her shoulders ease just a little. She tried to make conversation, sharing stories from her life as a waitress, telling him about her struggles to pay rent, and her dream of opening an art studio someday. As she spoke, she realized how easy it was to talk to him. There was something different about him. He wasn't like the typical businessmen she'd met in the past. There was a quiet kindness in his eyes, and for the first time in a long while, she felt like someone was actually listening. "So, what do you do?" she asked, eager to know more about him. "I work in tech," he said, his smile widening slightly. "Tech? That's cool. Like coding and apps and stuff?" Emma asked, genuinely curious. "Something like that," he replied, keeping his answer vague but still interested in the conversation. Emma laughed softly. "I'm terrible with computers, so you're the expert here." He chuckled too, and they continued to talk, the conversation flowing easily despite the awkwardness of the situation. But just as Emma began to feel more at ease, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the message. "Hey Emma, where are you? I'm at table 7, looking forward to meeting you, Kevin." Her heart sank as she reread the message slowly. Her cheeks flushed bright red as she looked up at the man sitting across from her. "You're not Kevin, are you?" she whispered, barely able to speak. The man's face shifted, and a guilty look flickered in his eyes. "No, I'm not," he said quietly. Emma's stomach dropped. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she said, her voice panicked as she stood up quickly. "I sat at the wrong table. This is so embarrassing." Without waiting for a response, she grabbed her coat and bolted for the door, her face burning with shame. The man watched her leave, a strange mix of regret and curiosity swirling in his chest. He had planned to correct her when she sat down, but something about Emma's earnest smile had stopped him. Now, as he watched her run out of the restaurant, he found himself wondering if he would ever see her again, and why the thought of not seeing her bothered him so much. The next morning, Emma sat on her small couch in her cramped apartment, still embarrassed from the previous night. She hadn't been able to shake the image of the man's face as she had rushed out of the restaurant. His eyes, full of curiosity and regret, seemed to follow her wherever she went. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a text from Jenny, her best friend. "So, how was your date? Did Kevin show up?" Emma let out a sigh and typed back. You won't believe this. I sat at the wrong table and thought he was Kevin. It was so embarrassing. I ran out of there before I even got a chance to explain." She hit send and leaned back, closing her eyes. "I can't believe I did that," she whispered to herself. Jenny's reply came almost instantly. "No way. Well, maybe you'll get a second chance. If he was nice, he might try to find you again." Emma wasn't so sure. She had left the restaurant in such a rush. She was certain he'd never want to see her again. Yet, despite her embarrassment, a small part of her hoped she would see him again. Her thoughts were interrupted when her phone buzzed again. But this time, it was a message from an unfamiliar number. "Hi Emma, this is Liam. I was the guy you sat with last night. I know it was a mix-up, but I'd love to meet you again for coffee if you're interested. I promise, no more mix-ups this time." Emma blinked, rereading the message. Her heart skipped a beat. Liam, the man from the restaurant? Was this some kind of joke? She quickly typed out a reply, still unsure whether she should say yes. "Coffee sounds nice," she wrote, hesitating before pressing send. Her phone vibrated again, almost immediately. "Great. I'll meet you at that little cafe down on Main Street at 2 p.m. Looking forward to it." Emma sat there for a moment, staring at the message, feeling a strange mixture of excitement and nervousness. She hadn't expected this. She hadn't expected him to reach out. And yet, here she was, about to meet the same man who had been an unexpected part of her life just a few hours ago. She glanced at her reflection in the mirror, taking in the disheveled hair and the faded shirt she was wearing. She didn't have much time to change, but maybe that was okay. The whole situation felt surreal, like something out of a romantic comedy. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what she needed, something unexpected, something out of the ordinary. At 2 p.m., Emma walked into the cafe, her nerves a little less sharp than they had been before. She scanned the room for Liam, and when she spotted him sitting at a small table by the window, her heart skipped again. He was dressed casually today, in a soft gray sweater and jeans, much more relaxed than the suit he'd been wearing the night before. He looked up and smiled as she approached, and Emma felt a wave of relief. "Hi," she said softly, smiling back. "Hey, Emma," he replied, standing to greet her. "Glad you could make it." They both sat down, and for a moment, neither of them said anything. Emma sipped her coffee, trying to calm the fluttering in her stomach. She could feel the tension easing, but there was still a lingering question in the back of her mind. "So, tech, huh?" she asked, trying to start the conversation again. "What exactly do you do?" Liam smiled, leaning back in his chair. "I work in software development. More specifically, I help build and improve apps. It's a lot of coding and problem solving, but I enjoy it." Emma nodded, pretending to understand. She was terrible with computers, but she didn't mind. The conversation flowed easily, and before long, they were talking about their favorite books, movies, and even their childhood memories. The time seemed to fly by, and by the end of their coffee, Emma found herself laughing more than she had in a long time. It felt natural, comfortable. "This was really nice," she said, smiling at him. "I'm glad we could meet again," Liam replied, his smile warm and genuine. "Maybe next time we can do something more adventurous," Emma laughed. "I'll hold you to that." As they stood to leave, Liam walked her to the door, his hand brushing against hers briefly. She felt a jolt of electricity run through her at the simple touch. She couldn't help but smile as they said their goodbyes. "See you soon, Emma," he said, his voice softer now. "Yeah, see you soon," she replied, still caught up in the warmth of the moment. She stepped out of the cafe, her heart pounding a little faster than usual. She hadn't expected this, a simple coffee date turning into something so comfortable, so easy. But here she was, feeling more connected to someone than she had in a long time. And maybe, just maybe, there was something more to this than a simple mix-up. The next few days were a whirlwind for Emma. She couldn't stop thinking about Liam, about how easy it had been to talk to him, how natural their connection felt. The awkwardness from the night before seemed like a distant memory, replaced by a sense of curiosity and excitement. She found herself looking forward to their next meeting. It was funny she'd gone into their first coffee date expecting nothing more than a casual conversation, but something about him had sparked something inside her. She couldn't quite put her finger on it. The next time they met, they went for a walk in the park, strolling side by side as they chatted about everything and nothing. Liam was easy to talk to, and Emma found herself sharing more with him than she had with anyone in a long time. It wasn't just her dreams of becoming an artist that came up, but also her frustrations with life, her struggles with finances, and the stress of trying to make it on her own. Liam listened intently, asking thoughtful questions and offering his perspective without ever judging her. He made her feel like she mattered, like her thoughts and feelings were valid. It was refreshing. As they walked, Emma couldn't help but notice the subtle way Liam's eyes would light up when she talked about her passion for art. He seemed genuinely interested in her vision, and that was something she hadn't encountered before. Most people just nodded politely when she spoke about her dreams of opening an art studio one day. But with Liam, she felt like he was actually listening. "You know," he said as they sat on a bench near the lake, "I think it's amazing that you want to open an art studio. You've got a lot of talent. I'm sure you'll get there." Emma smiled, her heart fluttering slightly. "Thanks," she said, her voice quiet but full of gratitude. "It's been a dream of mine for a long time, but I'm not sure how to make it happen yet. There's always something standing in the way." Liam paused for a moment, his eyes searching hers. "What if I could help you?" he asked, his tone serious but not forceful. Emma blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. "Help me? How?" "I don't know exactly," Liam said, leaning back against the bench. "But I know people. I could introduce you to some people who might be able to help you get your start, maybe even offer some funding." Emma's eyes widened in surprise. "You would do that?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "Of course," Liam said, his smile warm. "I can tell you're passionate about it. I believe in helping people follow their dreams." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected this, not from someone she had only just met. But somehow, the offer didn't feel like a charity. It felt genuine. She looked at him, a mix of disbelief and hope in her eyes. "I don't know what to say," she murmured. "You don't have to say anything," Liam said softly. "Just think about it. I'm not offering you a handout. I'm offering you a chance." Emma sat there for a moment, trying to process his words. It felt like too much to take in at once. But deep down, she knew this was an opportunity she couldn't ignore. "I'll think about it," she said finally, her voice steady now. "Thank you, Liam." Liam smiled again, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made Emma's heart race. "You don't have to thank me. I'm just trying to help. And hey, we'll make sure you have everything you need to succeed." They sat there for a while longer, watching the sun begin to set over the lake. The evening air was cool, but Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. She had always dreamed of something more, something beyond the diner and the struggles she faced every day. But now, with Liam's unexpected offer, she felt like that dream might finally be within reach. As they parted ways that evening, Emma couldn't help but wonder about Liam. What was it about him that made her feel so comfortable, so open? She had only known him for a short time, but in those few moments he had already become someone she felt she could trust. Little did she know, the journey they were about to embark on together would change both of their lives forever. Over the next few weeks, Emma found herself meeting Liam more often, each time feeling more comfortable with him. They spent time together outside the cafe, walking through the park, visiting local galleries, and even having dinner at some of the city's most casual but charming restaurants. What had started as an accidental encounter was slowly becoming a genuine friendship, one that Emma cherished more than she could explain. Liam was always there to listen, offering advice and encouragement. The offer he made to help her with her art studio was still on the table, and every time she thought about it, her heart raced with excitement. But she couldn't help but feel a sense of hesitation. She had never been one to accept help so freely, especially from someone who seemed to have everything figured out while she was just scraping by. Yet, Liam never made her feel small. In fact, he made her feel like her dreams were worth chasing. One afternoon, as they sat in the small park by the lake, Emma couldn't hold it in any longer. "Liam, I've been thinking a lot about what you said. About the art studio," she began, her voice uncertain but filled with a sense of purpose. I think I'm ready to take that step. But I'm scared too. I've never had the kind of money or resources to make it happen, and honestly, I don't know if I can do it alone." Liam turned toward her, his eyes soft yet filled with determination. "You're not alone, Emma. You have me, and you have your passion. That's more than enough to start with." His words settled in her heart, easing some of the fear that had been clouding her mind. Emma looked down at her hands, unsure of how to continue. "I don't want to owe anyone anything, though," she said quietly. "It's just hard for me to accept help. I don't want to feel like I'm taking advantage of you." Liam reached across and gently placed his hand on top of hers, a reassuring warmth spreading through her. "You're not taking advantage of me. I'm offering this because I believe in you. You don't have to feel indebted to me. This is just a chance to make something beautiful happen." Emma took a deep breath, looking up at him. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, the genuine care he had for her success. It was a stark contrast to the way most people she knew treated her with judgment or indifference, and somehow this felt different. Liam wasn't asking for anything in return, he just wanted to help her. "Okay," she said softly, a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "I'll do it. I'll take the chance." Liam's face lit up with a bright smile, his eyes gleaming. "I knew you would, and I'll be with you every step of the way." From that moment on, things began to change for Emma. She started putting together a plan for her studio, using the resources Liam had offered her. He introduced her to a few people who could help her with the business side of things, and soon, she found herself in meetings, sketching out ideas for her dream space. It was all happening so fast, and yet it felt so right. The fear she had once felt was slowly replaced by a sense of purpose, and Emma knew she had made the right decision. But it wasn't just the art studio that was changing her life. Something was happening between her and Liam, something neither of them had expected. They were growing closer, their bond deepening with each passing day. Liam would drop by her apartment with coffee in the mornings, and they would spend hours talking about everything from their childhoods to their future hopes. Emma couldn't help but feel a flutter in her chest whenever he smiled at her, whenever he looked at her with that warmth in his eyes. She wasn't sure if it was just the excitement of everything coming together, or if it was something more. She had started to see Liam in a new light. He wasn't just the businessman who offered to help her. He was someone who truly cared, someone who understood her struggles and her dreams. And the more she got to know him, the more she realized how much he had sacrificed for his own success. One evening, after a particularly long day of meetings, they walked home together under the stars. "You know," Liam said quietly, glancing at Emma, "I didn't always have everything handed to me. There were a lot of years where I struggled, too. I didn't just wake up with a billion-dollar company, you know." Emma looked at him, surprised. "Really?" she asked. Liam nodded. "Yeah, I worked hard to get where I am. But I've also learned that the real value in life isn't just about what you can achieve. It's about the people you help along the way. And you, Emma, are someone worth helping." The words hit Emma hard. And for the first time, she realized how much she had been holding back not just from him, but from herself. Maybe she had been afraid of success, afraid of what it would mean to actually go after her dreams. But with Liam by her side, everything suddenly felt possible. And as they stood there on the sidewalk, their hands brushing together in the cool night air, Emma couldn't help but wonder where this unexpected journey was going to take them. Was this just the beginning of her new life? Or was it the start of something even more? As the weeks passed, Emma's life began to change in ways she had never imagined. The art studio was becoming more than just a dream. It was becoming a reality. Liam had introduced her to the right people, helped her secure the necessary resources, and supported her through every step of the process. The fear and doubt she had once felt slowly faded, replaced by a newfound confidence. Every morning she woke up excited, ready to tackle the challenges ahead. But it wasn't just her career that was changing. Her relationship with Liam had shifted too. They were no longer just business partners, but something more. The boundaries between their friendship and something deeper had become blurry, and neither of them seemed to mind. They spent more time together, not just talking about business, but sharing moments that felt intimate and genuine. Whether it was grabbing coffee in the mornings or watching movies late at night, they always seemed to find comfort in each other's company. One evening, after a long day of planning for the studio, they sat on the couch in Emma's small apartment, taking a break. The soft hum of the city outside was the only sound, and for a moment everything felt still. Emma glanced over at Liam, who was sitting beside her, looking tired but content. He caught her eye and smiled. "You're really doing it, Emma. You've come so far," he said softly, his voice filled with admiration. Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied, her voice sincere. "You've helped me believe in myself." Liam's smile softened, and for a moment they just looked at each other, the weight of their words settling between them. Then, in the quiet of the moment, Liam reached out, taking her hand in his. Emma felt her heart race at the simple touch. It wasn't just the physical contact. It was the connection that had been building between them over time. The bond they shared had deepened, and she could no longer ignore the feelings that had been growing inside her. She squeezed his hand, her breath catching slightly. "Liam, I don't know what this is, but I feel like I'm falling for you," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam's expression softened, and he leaned in closer, his eyes searching hers. "I've been feeling the same way, Emma," he said quietly, his voice full of warmth and sincerity. "I think I've been falling for you too." Emma's heart skipped a beat at his words. It was like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders, and the tension she hadn't realized she'd been carrying melted away. They had both been dancing around their feelings, unsure of how to move forward. But now, with those words hanging in the air, everything felt clear. Without another word, Liam leaned in and kissed her gently, his lips warm and tender against hers. Emma's breath caught, and for a moment, everything else in the world faded away. There was no more doubt, no more fear, just the two of them, finally giving in to what had been building between them for so long. When they finally pulled away, Emma smiled, her cheeks flushed. "I've wanted to do that for a while," she admitted, her voice soft but filled with affection. Liam chuckled softly, his thumb gently brushing over the back of her hand. "Me too," he said. I guess we've both been a little slow on the uptake. Emma laughed, feeling lighter than she had in days. For the first time, she felt like everything was falling into place. The studio, the new relationship with Liam, everything was aligning in a way she had never expected. But despite all the changes happening in her life, one thing remained constant: she was happy. And with Liam by her side, she knew she was ready to face whatever came next. The next day, Emma stood in front of the building where her art studio would soon be. The space was empty now, but she could see the potential. She could imagine the walls lined with beautiful paintings, the open floor plan filled with creative energy. It was everything she had ever dreamed of. She smiled to herself, feeling a surge of pride. It was happening. And as she turned to Liam, who stood beside her, his hand resting gently on her shoulder, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. He had been there for her from the very beginning, helping her turn her dreams into something real. But now, with their relationship taking a new turn, Emma realized that he had become more than just a business partner. He was the person she wanted to share her future with. And in that moment, she knew that no matter what happened next, they would face it together. As the weeks went by, Emma found herself fully immersed in the process of building her dream art studio. The space was starting to take shape, and every detail seemed to reflect her vision. The walls were being painted with fresh, light colors, the hardwood floors polished to perfection, and the shelves were starting to fill with art supplies and the beginning of her future gallery. Emma couldn't help but smile every time she walked in. It felt like home already, even though it was still a work in progress. But it wasn't just the studio that had Emma's attention. Her relationship with Liam was growing in ways she hadn't expected. They spent more time together, not just during the day, but also in the evenings, enjoying quiet dinners, watching movies, and taking walks through the city. With every passing day, it became clearer that what had started as a business relationship had evolved into something deeper. Emma found herself thinking about Liam constantly. There was an ease between them, a comfort that she hadn't experienced with anyone else. She felt safe with him, cherished in a way that she never had before. It wasn't just his support for her art studio, though that meant the world to her. It was the way he made her feel seen, heard, and understood. Liam was always there for her, whether it was offering advice on the studio or simply holding her hand during a quiet moment. And Emma knew, deep down, that she had fallen for him. One evening, as they sat together in the park, Emma turned to him, her heart pounding in her chest. She had been thinking about this moment for a while, but now that it was here, she wasn't sure how to start. "Liam, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice soft but steady. Liam looked at her, his expression warm. "What's on your mind, Emma?" She took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "I don't know how to say this, but I'm falling in love with you," she said, her words coming out in a rush. "I know it's fast, and I wasn't expecting it, but I can't deny it anymore. You've become such an important part of my life, and I just—" She stopped, unsure of how to continue. Liam didn't say anything at first, but his eyes softened as he reached out to take her hand. He squeezed it gently, then leaned in, his face close to hers. "Emma," he said, his voice low and filled with emotion, "I've been feeling the same way. I just didn't know how to say it either. I didn't want to mess this up, but I've realized over the past few weeks that I'm falling for you too." Emma felt her heart flutter at his words. It was as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She had been so afraid of ruining their friendship, afraid that her feelings might scare him away. But now, with him confessing the same thing, everything felt right. "Liam," she whispered, her voice full of emotion, "you don't know how much that means to me." He smiled, his eyes warm and tender. "I do, Emma, I do, and I'm not going anywhere. I want to be here with you, every step of the way." In that moment, the world around them seemed to fade away. It was just the two of them, standing in the soft glow of the streetlights, sharing a quiet moment that would forever change their relationship. From that point on, things felt different between them. They were no longer just two people with a business arrangement. They were partners in every sense of the word. As their connection deepened, so did their bond. It wasn't just about love. It was about building a life together, supporting each other through thick and thin. Emma felt more confident in her work, knowing that Liam was by her side, cheering her on. But it wasn't just the studio that was thriving. Their relationship was blossoming in ways she had never imagined. One day, after a long day of work, Liam surprised Emma by taking her to a small, intimate restaurant she had always wanted to try. The evening was perfect. They laughed, shared stories, and enjoyed each other's company in a way that felt so natural, so right. As they sat across from each other, Emma couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude. She had never imagined that she would be here, with him, building the life she had always dreamed of. And for the first time in a long time, she knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. "Thank you, Liam," Emma said softly, looking into his eyes. "For everything." Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "You don't need to thank me," he said with a smile. "This is just the beginning. I'm here with you, always." They sat there for a while longer, enjoying the peace and contentment that had settled between them. Emma knew that no matter what challenges they faced ahead, they would face them together. And that thought, more than anything, filled her with hope for the future. As the days passed, Emma's art studio continued to take shape, and her excitement grew with every new step. It was becoming a place where her dreams were finally coming to life. But despite all the success and progress, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. There was a nagging sense of unease that lingered in the back of her mind, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. She tried to push it aside, focusing on the studio and the future she was building with Liam. But the feeling persisted. One evening as they sat in the studio, talking about plans for the grand opening, Emma noticed Liam was unusually quiet. He seemed distracted, his eyes distant as he stared at the plans they had laid out on the table. She frowned slightly, concerned. "Liam, what's going on?" she asked softly, her voice gentle but filled with worry. He looked up at her, his expression unreadable. For a moment, he said nothing, as if debating whether or not to tell her. Then, with a sigh, he spoke. "There's something I haven't told you, Emma," he said, his voice heavy. Emma's heart skipped a beat, a knot forming in her stomach. "What is it?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Liam stood up, pacing the room for a moment before turning to face her. "It's about my family, about why I wanted to help you in the first place." Emma watched him closely, her breath catching. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam ran a hand through his hair, his gaze shifting away from her. "The truth is, Emma, I didn't just want to help you because I believed in your art. I saw something in you, yes, but I also saw someone who could help me with a personal problem I've been dealing with for years." Emma's heart began to race, a cold feeling settling in her chest. She had never imagined that Liam's kindness could come with a hidden agenda. "What kind of problem?" she asked, her voice trembling. Liam took a deep breath, his shoulders slumping as he finally met her gaze. "I'm being pressured by my family to get married. They want me to settle down, have children, and carry on the family legacy. But I didn't want to marry someone just because of family expectations. I wanted to make my own decisions, and then I met you." Emma felt a mixture of shock and confusion wash over her. "So, you asked me to marry you because of your family?" she asked, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. Liam stepped closer to her, his expression filled with regret. "No, that's not it. I wanted to help you, Emma. I saw your passion, your drive. I didn't want you to feel like you were taking charity. I thought if I offered to help you, it would be something we could both benefit from." Emma felt her chest tighten as the realization hit her. "So, it was just a business arrangement for you? A way to get your family off your back?" Liam's eyes widened with panic. "No, that's not what I meant. I didn't expect to fall for you, Emma. This is real for me. Everything I've done for you, all the support, it was because I care about you. I care about us." Emma stood up, her emotions swirling inside her. She felt betrayed, confused, and hurt. The man she had been falling in love with, the man who had supported her dreams, had kept a secret from her. She didn't know what to believe anymore. "You should have told me," she said quietly, her voice shaking. "I don't know if I can trust you now." The words hung in the air between them, heavy and filled with uncertainty. Liam's face fell, and he reached out to her, his hand trembling. "Please, Emma, don't say that. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was doing the right thing, but now I see how wrong I was." Emma took a step back, shaking her head. "I need time to think. I can't just pretend this didn't happen." She turned away, her heart breaking as she walked to the door. Before she stepped outside, she turned back to him one last time. "I don't know what this means for us anymore, Liam. I don't know if I can be with someone who's hiding things from me." And with that, she left, her footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. As she stepped into the cool night air, Emma felt a mixture of relief and sadness. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she needed to be on her own, to figure out what she truly wanted. She had built a future for herself, but now she needed to decide what place Liam would have in it, if any at all. Days passed after Emma's confrontation with Liam, and the weight of the truth still hung heavily on her heart. She kept herself busy with the studio, throwing herself into the work, trying to focus on her art and the life she had been building before Liam had come into it. But every time she closed her eyes, she thought of him. She thought of the moments they had shared, the connection that had felt so real, and the betrayal that now clouded everything. It wasn't just about the secret he had kept from her. It was about the trust that had been broken. She had wanted to believe that their relationship was more than just an arrangement. She had hoped that there was something genuine between them, something that went beyond the business proposal, beyond the pressure from his family. And now, she wasn't sure where she stood. It was a week before Liam reached out again. His message was short and to the point. "Emma, can we talk? Please." She had debated whether or not to respond, unsure of what to expect. But in the end, she knew that she couldn't keep avoiding him forever. They had something, even if it was complicated. So, she agreed to meet him. The cafe they had gone to on their first date was where they met. It felt fitting back to where it all began. Emma sat at a table by the window, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee as she waited for Liam. When he walked in, his eyes immediately found hers. He looked tired, worn out, and regretful. Emma's heart clenched at the sight of him. He sat down across from her, the space between them thick with unspoken words. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened," Liam began, his voice quieter than usual. "I know I messed up, Emma. I should have told you everything from the beginning. I should have been honest with you, and I'm sorry I didn't do that." Emma stared at him for a moment, her emotions swirling inside her. She wanted to say something, to ask him why he hadn't been upfront with her, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she just nodded, waiting for him to continue. "I never meant to hurt you," Liam said, his eyes filled with sincerity. "What I offered wasn't just because of my family. I wanted to help you, and I thought we could help each other. But I was wrong to keep the truth from you. I was scared, Emma. Scared of what would happen if I told you the truth." Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "And what was the truth, Liam?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam hesitated, looking down at his hands for a moment before meeting her gaze again. "The truth is, I wanted to help you, but I also wanted to find a way out of the life I've been living, the pressure from my family, the expectations. I thought if I helped you, if we worked together, it would be easier for both of us. But I didn't consider how it would make you feel. I didn't think about how much you mean to me, how much you've become a part of my life." His words hit Emma hard. She had been afraid of this moment, afraid of hearing him admit that it wasn't just about love, that it had always been about convenience. But something in his voice made her pause. There was an honesty there, a vulnerability that she hadn't expected. "I don't want to be someone you settle for," Liam continued, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't want to be a choice made out of obligation. I want to be with you, because of who you are. I want us to build something real. But I understand if you don't feel the same way anymore." The silence between them felt heavy, but Emma found herself searching his eyes, seeing the man who had helped her realize her dreams, the man who had supported her when no one else had. She could still see the care in his eyes, the warmth that had drawn her to him in the first place. And as much as she had been hurt, she knew that she had feelings for him too. She took a deep breath, trying to make sense of everything she was feeling. "Liam, I'm not sure what to say," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "I've been angry, hurt, confused. But I also care about you. I care about us. I don't know if I can forget what happened, but I do know that I want to try. I want to try and see if we can make this work." Liam's face softened, a flicker of hope lighting up his eyes. "You mean it?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. "I do," she said, the words feeling like a release. "But I need time, we both do. We need to rebuild trust, and that's not something that happens overnight." Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. "I understand," he said softly. "I'll wait as long as it takes, Emma. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." As they sat there, hands clasped, Emma felt a sense of peace settle over her. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, and there would be challenges. But for the first time in a long time, she felt like they were both ready to face them together. The weeks that followed were a mix of hard work, healing, and rediscovery for Emma and Liam. They both took the time to rebuild what had been broken, but with each passing day they grew stronger together. Emma's art studio continued to take shape, and with Liam's unwavering support, it became a space that truly reflected who she was. The opening night was a dream come true. She stood in the center of the room, surrounded by her work, her heart full as she looked around at the people who had come to see her creations. Liam was by her side, his pride for her evident in the way he looked at her. He had been there through every step of the process, from helping her secure funding to offering advice on how to navigate the business side of things. And now, as they shared this moment, Emma couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the studio, but for Liam. They had come a long way since their first meeting, and she knew that their journey together was just beginning. As the night went on, they spoke with guests, exchanged laughter, and celebrated the new chapter in Emma's life. But there was one moment that stood out above all others. As the crowd thinned out and the evening drew to a close, Liam pulled her aside, his hand gently taking hers. "I've watched you build this, Emma," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "I've watched you create something incredible, and I couldn't be more proud of you. But there's something else I need to say." Emma turned to him, her heart racing. "What is it?" she asked, her voice soft, filled with curiosity. Liam looked at her, his eyes warm and steady. "I don't just want to be here for your dreams, Emma. I want to be here for you, for everything. I want us to build a future together, not just as partners in business, but in life." Emma felt a wave of emotion wash over her as she realized what he was saying. The love they had built over the past few months, the trust, the connection, it wasn't just about the art or the studio, it was about something much deeper. He wasn't just supporting her dream, he wanted to be a part of it, and he wanted her to be a part of his. "Liam," Emma whispered, her voice trembling with emotion, "I never thought I would find someone who believed in me this much, but you've shown me what real love and partnership mean, and I want that too. I want to build a life with you." Liam smiled, his eyes shining with joy. "Then let's do it, Emma. Let's build a life together." As he pulled her into a tight embrace, Emma felt the weight of all her fears and doubts melt away. She wasn't alone anymore. They had found something real, something worth fighting for. And in that moment, surrounded by her art and the love they had created, Emma knew that this was just the beginning of a beautiful journey. Together they were ready to face whatever the future had in store.